Thank you. Thank you, everyone at FinDEVr. Welcome here today. I'm Bill Serra, CEO of Linqto, and this is Eric Thomas, our Chief Software Architect. Banking software is a rapidly evolving sector, not so much in terms of the core software or digital banking solutions that we use for doing transactions, but especially in terms of all the new fintech offerings that have been hitting the market, the things you've all come to see over the next 2 days. In the US, over the past 5 years, fintech investment has had a compound annual growth rate of 56.6%, tripling in the last year. And Finovate just reported in their blog last week, in 1 week, there was $1.3 billion of new funding for fintech. It's just amazing what's happened to fintech. But there's a problem that it's created. The top 5 banks have about half the market, and they're able to produce their own digital banking software. They have their own development teams, and then there's another 10,000 banks who purchase their digital banking software from third-party companies. And so they're handicapped by this obsolete delivery process with a 1-year presentation cycle that ends up in a 3 to 5 year contract tied to the chosen vendor. And they're limited from adopting all this great new fintech that community banks and credit unions want to quickly adopt. There's another problem that this has created out in the marketplace. The Millennial Disruption Index studied 15 verticals over 3 years and determined that banking is at the highest risk of disruption. The credit union and bank execs that we're talking to are extremely concerned about how they're going to generate future business with a generation that is moving away from traditional bank offerings. As a matter of fact, bank brands are suffering so much that the 4 leading banks are among the 10 least loved brands. So, how are banks going to brand to a generation that does not watch TV, is advertising averse, and is already tainted by the too big to fail era that they grew up in? The 2 biggest issues facing us today in the room are, on the vendor side, how do we monetize our fintech apps when the competition is free? And on the banker side, how do we brand to millennials? Well, Linqto thought about it a lot, and that's when we realized that the answer was staring us in the face. What attracts the largest portion of visual attention of millennials? They don't watch advertising, they're not on the web, their face is down all day long in this screen. More specifically, the icons on their mobile screens. That's their first point of eye contact all day long, and it's the only guaranteed visual point in the application flow. Linqto is the only company that provides the delivery of new fintech opportunities as a service. Imagine the flexibility if a bank or a credit union could go online, choose their software, and submit. That's Linqto's Otter, our automated software delivery platform. From design to App Store submission, the process is easy and fully automated. So, show of hands, how many of you were here about an hour ago to see the Wallaby demo? Love that app. We really love the Wallaby people. I see Kim's out there. I see Matthew. You guys did a great job in your demo. So we're going to show this today. I'm going to introduce our Chief Software Architect. If you can switch screens over to Eric's screens, he's going to run you through a demo. Is anybody here from Purdue FCU by any chance? Great. And how about Bank of the West? Anybody here from Bank of the West? Cool. Okay, how about Square One Bank? Anybody here from Square One? What we're going to do is we're going to take Wallaby's app, and then Eric's going to take 3 logos from those 3 banks. We're going to combine Wallaby's app, load it up to the Apple Store, and you're going to see this magic all happen through our interface. Go ahead, Eric.
Right, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I'm excited to be able to demonstrate this. I'm going to do something quite techy, though. I'm going to build a REST client in Java just so you can see the process that anyone can build in any platform they want, because what we've done is we've stood up a REST server, basically a web service, that automates the process of branding and packaging and uploading mobile apps to the App Store, Android Store, etc. What we're going to do today is actually write the code to do this. And what we have to start with is we have a Wallaby IPA, which is an iOS app, and then we have 3 PNG files. These are the master icons from which all of the other icons that Apple requires. They need 10 or 12 or 15 icons of different sizes generated in order to be accepted at the store, depending on what your iOS versions you're targeting. So we're going to do that. And then we have a pom.xml. It's not particularly interesting, but I just wanted to show that we're going to use the Maven build system for this demo, and we're using the Spring Boot framework, and then also we're using our own client just to make it a little bit easier. So before we get started, it's always a good idea to take a look at the docs. We're using Swagger for our APIs so that they are fully documented, easily to get to. This is a little small to view probably, but you can see that the model schema, this is the body of the request that we're going to do, has one or more app instances with a bundle ID, a display name, and a master icon, as well as the IPA itself, a notification email address for when it's completed uploading to the Apple Store, and a version if you want a specific version. Otherwise, the system will bump the version for you automatically. So before I start this, I'm just going to make a directory so that Eclipse is happy. And we're going to switch over to an empty Eclipse workspace. And I'm just going to import that Maven POM, which will give us our basic starting point. And, oops. Oh, there we go. Now it's happy. And we have this demo project. We don't have to focus on that particularly, but I have to create a package to keep Eclipse happy, and then I'm going to create a class. This class is where we're going to do all our work. And remember, I'm using generic development tools. They're all free. It's just Java. You can develop this in any kind of language you want. It's just that I'm demonstrating how fast you can stand up a REST client in order to take advantage of our Otter service. So what I've done there is I've just generated, through the magic of code templates, to prevent you guys from having to see me type very slowly. And it's a Spring Boot application. It has a run function because we're going to run it from the command line in this particular example. And I'm going to generate a little bit more code here, take care of the imports. Oops, no, actually, I already did that. Fin2. Okay, so the important part here is this Apple update request. That is actually from our DTO. You don't have to use our client. If you're not using Java, you wouldn't have to do it. It's very simple. All you need to do is be able to produce a JSON payload that looks like this, and you would just send that to our to the request API. So the request body we're creating, we're passing to it a Wallaby IPA and my email address so that I will be notified when the process is done on the Apple Store. Now we're going to create an app instance. Each of these app instances represent a branded version of this IPA, so the Wallaby IPA will be branded for Bank of the West Wallaby, we're calling it that. And we have a bundle ID and our master icon. We're going to do 3 banks, so I just generated the same thing, added to our request body the 3 app instances, so Purdue Federal and Square One. And finally, and this is what's fun about using Spring, is that we, oops, and 5. Okay. So this is the code to actually generate the REST template. Spring provides some really nice tools for making this easy. As you can see, I make a single call to HTTP, the otter.linqto.com, the iOS URL, and I send my request body. It's automatically marshaled into the JSON, and then we're going to get the response and we're going to print it out to the console so that we can see whether we had a success or a failure. That's all there is to it. We've just completed our REST client. Let's build that using Maven. That built successfully. Now let's just run this. And if all goes well, the process is that it's uploading to our web service. The web service is unpackaging the IPA. It is branding it for the 3 banks. It is then creating new ones, signing them, doing all that good stuff, and then uploading to the Apple Store. And you can see that it was successful here, that the first part that gets completed is the branding and packaging was successful. We're uploading the apps to the App Store now. We don't want to make you wait for that because it can take a fair amount of time depending on the size of your app. And you'll get an email notification when it's done. So that's all there is to it. And anyway, in about 6 or 7 minutes, we just wrote a program to automate the process of branding and uploading applications to the Apple Store. And you can do the same things for Android. I went through this pretty quickly. If you want a deeper dive, you want to ask questions, or you want to maybe get involved in our beta program, please stop by our booth today. We'll be there all day. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Great job. Love it. So if you want to switch to the overhead here, we'll just take a quick look. So here are the 3 apps that got created for us. We'll just, let's see. So we got Square One Bank Wallaby. Now, have any of you used the Apple beta program with TestFlight? Part of the API is whoever your testers are can put their email addresses in. I'm one of the testers on this app, so I'm getting an email address as well. When it gets posted, your bank will get an email address. They can go in and test the app. And then there's another API that pushes it into production with all the display graphics, which we also produce on our server. We use simulators to then take the packaged application, create new screenshots branded in that for that bank or that customer, and load those up to the store. So we're just going to update the apps. Let me see if I can quickly show you. If we go into TestFlight, you'll see we've got Square One Bank Wallaby, Bank of the West Wallaby, Purdue Federal Wallaby, and so on the user's end screen now, instead of just Wallaby, which they might be using, the local banks can not only use Wallaby, but they're now marketing Wallaby to their local markets. And they're paying Wallaby based on the way they pay for the digital banking software per active monthly customer. Linqto keeps track of that. Wallaby can charge whatever they want on the store. It's an open marketplace. It can be 2 cents per active monthly customer. It can be $2 per active monthly customer. The bank comes and chooses a software based on the viability of the software, but also what the pricing is. A bank can now go in, find 5 different applications, let's say in the wealth management space, adopt all of them within a day, put each in 5 different markets, see which one resonates the best, and go back and use that one. They can try an app that resonates to millennials, and 3 months later, if there's a different app that resonates more, they can take that app. It gives banks the flexibility on one side of being able to brand and immediately use all of your fintech, and it's a way to monetize fintech apps without the end user having to pay for it. So here we had Wallaby. Here are a number. These are all free apps right now that are on the Apple Store. So imagine it just goes to this. And all of these are now monetized and being paid for. It's a way for fintech applications to produce another level of monetization. It's a way for banks on the other side to be able to brand and get in front of millennials' faces. We're going back to branding, where branding should be. I mean, I don't know, anybody here from New York? Have you gone to watch the Mets play? They play at a stadium called Citi Field. Since 2009, Citibank has been paying $20 million a year to brand Citi Field. Banks commonly brand everywhere. They haven't been able to figure out how to brand to millennials. We have figured out a way to both monetize the app and also for banks to now brand and be in front of millennials. Wallaby didn't have to create sales and marketing to the bank. Wallaby didn't have to spend months and precious engineering resources integrating with just one bank, but instead open an immediate market to 10,000 banks and their 100 million active monthly customers. Banking has become a commoditized market. So why not transform your fintech app into a commodity? We've kind of gone through the whole process very quickly here this morning. We're going to be at the booth all day. If any of you are interested in coming and be involved in our program, today is our launch date. We're going into beta with both Otter and the bank store. So come by and see if we can work together. We're looking for partnerships, we're looking for deals, and we're looking to help you with the next generation of fintech. So we're Linqto, our platform is Otter, our outlet is the bank store. We are changing the way fintech is delivered to banks. Thanks, everyone, and special thanks to Finovate and our friends at Wallaby. Thanks all.